Welcome to the Nagual Zone. My name is Anaam. Let's talk about timidity, self-consciousness. Let me read you a comment from a user called John Chatterton, and I promised him I would make a video about this. He says, abhorrent are the timid souls who shy away from interaction to the point where even though they interact, they merely infer or deduce in terms of their own psychological states without actually perceiving what is really going on. They interact without ever being part of the interaction. It's very important. They interact without ever being part of the interaction. He says, merci beaucoup. Please make a video about hunting timidity and self-consciousness with the tools of impeccability and so on. I promised him I'd make a video. This is a comment that he made on my very old video called The Art of Dying. You can go check it out on my channel. This is a topic that stops. I myself had to go through a whole training phase about this, a whole training phase. I'm eternally grateful to my benefactors for pushing me in this area. First, I want to, before we go on to timidity and self-consciousness, I want to tell you about fear. Now, there are three kinds of fear as far as I understand. There's the fear of what will they think of me? What will others think? What will they think if I, and then fill in the blank. It's a huge part of everyone's makeup, personality makeup. What will they think of me? And it's very insidious. It's very, very deeply ingrained. The second fear is the fear of survival. So we all know this kind of fear, the fear of falling from heights, the fear of getting hurt, the fear of being killed, or those kind of natural fear inbuilt into our body as it should be. There's no aberration there. That is how it should be. So that's the second layer of fear. These are layers. The first layer of fear is never the fear of the mortality. The first layer of fear you will encounter in yourself is always, what will they think of me? For all practical purposes, we're not talking theory here, and I couldn't care less about psychology and any of that. It's not, do you know what I mean? It's not a textbook. For all practical purposes, this is what you're going to encounter. And the last layer of fear is what I call the terror of being alive, or the terror of living. I'll explain that maybe in another video. It's the last layer. It is even below the layer of fear of being hurt and all that kind of fear. I'm sure there's a term for it. Now, there's a clear line. You can clearly tell. There's a clear line that separates the fear of what will they think of me and the fear of mortality, the fear of falling from great heights, fear of being hurt, that kind of thing. However, there is no clear difference between the fear of falling from a great height and the terror of living, even though they are very, very, very different in flavor. I will touch mainly on the fear of what will others think of me, because that is what his question is. Every time you look at when you were timid, when you were afraid of the consequences, when you were self-conscious in a situation, maybe you have to go up and speak something in public, maybe it's a gathering of your friends and it's your birthday and they say speech, and you go, oh bloody hell, now I have to speak. Those are little, it may not be a big fear for you in that situation, but that fear of what it is, the fear of what will they think of me, right? And that fear makes people timid. And we're only, again, I'll emphasize, it's not textbook PhD theory session. This is for all practical purposes in your real life. That's how it's going to pan out for you and for me, for everyone. What will they think of me makes mice out of men. What you would have done with great abandon and gusto, suddenly all the wind goes out of the sails and you're left with like, oh, and like later on thinking, oh, why did I not do that? Why did I stop myself? Why did I become timid? That is the fear of what will they think of me? What will others think of me? The second fear, we all know that fear. We all understand that fear. We are hardwired for it. The third fear, I will just mention a little bit briefly about it because to give it a little bit of context. The third fear, the terror of living. Most people will die repeatedly, again and again, lifetimes after lifetimes, never having encountered that fear. And it's only, in my experience, only the Toltec path that puts you squarely smack dab in the middle of that fear. The fear, the terror of being alive, the terror of living. You see, there's a constant pressure just existing. Anything that exists is constantly experiencing a very subtle pressure from infinity, from the Nagual. All tonal is always experiencing a very subtle, it's like gravity, it's a very subtle pressure. Always on, will never switch off till you stop existing. And it's called, loosely described as the rolling force in Castaneda's books. But this is a much more subtle pressure than that even. It's really like gravity. We don't realize it's there, but it's always constantly acting on us. Gravity is the greatest contributor to old age as we experience it. Not old age in theory or in textbooks, old age in all practical terms, where the boobs are sagging over time, the face, sags over time, all sorts of the organs, start to sort of over the decades and decades of living, the organs, the heart, the lungs, they sag in the body. They're no longer held up and buoyant, right? There are many other causes to old age, but gravity is definitely one of them. The terror of living is the terror that is you could call it, it's the experiencing of that subtle pressure that we cannot put our finger on. And most people who are hearing this, you guys may not even know what the hell am I talking about. So that is another video for another time, and that is a very advanced topic. That's kind of like talking about, almost like talking about advanced dreaming technique or something, that if you're not really coming from a background in that context, you just won't know what is that, what the hell, right? So let's go back to timidity. What makes us timid? First of all, what I'd like you to do, John, is experience the timidity consciously, not just because you are thrust into situations where you end up experiencing it. Go and seek out that self-conscious feeling when the face goes red, out of embarrassment, and the heart is thumping, and, like the body just has a hot flush, or you break out in sweat on your back. We all know this one. Now, here's the way to consciously experience the sheer force of the unbelievable force of this fear of what will others think of me. When you finish watching this video, go out into the streets, just take a walk and go where people are. and start singing loudly. Start singing loudly and watch what happens in your body. Most of you won't even be able to do it. It's unthinkable. You see how powerful the fear of what will others think of me. That's how it's powerful. When I was training in all of this, my benefactors, one of them said to me, you know what you should do? Next time when you take a walk, and you can do the same, go out and do this. This is a very gentle way of doing this. They said, watch what happens to you when you just stop. Whenever you're walking, just stop when you're out walking. And if a tree catches your eye, any tree, they said a tree, and I tried that on trees, just become completely become silent inside and just be with the tree right there on the street. It could be just one lone tree in the middle of a busy street, in the middle of a plaza of human beings, or in the middle of the city, or a financial district, or shops, or malls, or whatever else we have in our civilization. Stop and just be with that tree and watch what happens to your self-consciousness. It will rise up. When I started doing this, and all you're doing is stopping where you are and being with a tree, right? Very innocuous thing to do. But inside me, the first time I tried it, I remembered very clearly exactly where I was, what time of the day it was. I stopped and I was with the tree, and there weren't even so many people in that park at that time. But my first thought in those days, at that time, was, people will think I'm mad. Someone might even call the mad police, or mad helpline, or whatever. I don't even know if there's something like that, but the irrational fear of what are others thinking of me right now, because I'm just standing and being with a tree. I'm not walking as if I have a purpose, hurrying along like everyone else, or whatever. Maybe others think I'm high on weed, or maybe others think I've taken drugs and I'm hallucinating. That's the fear right there. And if I give in to that, I have just acted out my moment timidly. I've given in to self-consciousness. So the singing one is a little bit more brutal than this one, right? The one I was given. So you can actually start with this. If you feel, oh my God, singing is gonna way too much for me, that's fine. Go and start, ease into this. Just do unpredictable things. It will break the hold of what will others think of me, that virus. It's, believe me, I cannot emphasize enough what a destructive virus that is for our spirit. It crushes our spirit. What will others think of me? So try this. Try simple little things. Try simple little things. So think about this. Think about this fear and how it is affecting everything you do in front of others. This is the same fear that prevents us from saying sorry in front of others to our spouse or our children. In front of others, because what will they think, right? Or prevent us from really admitting our mistakes in public, or being shown up, our self-importance being challenged in public. People hate it. You know why? Because we are far too concerned with what will others think of me. If you can break the back of this fear, here's another way to do it. Never be afraid to apologize in public to whoever you feel is deserving of that apology, needs that apology from you. In public, there and then apologize. You're in a party and you did some silly thing or some stupid thing or said something, and that person is challenging you on it. I'm just creating a scenario here. Don't wait for later. Don't let the what will they think of me get you there. Immediately say, you know, you are right. I think on it. I see my behavior was really not worthy of, deserving and worthy of me, and I really apologize. I am very sorry. I apologize. Please forgive me. It will have the opposite effect than what your fear tells you. Your fear will tell you that what others think of you, their opinion will go down. You are admitting, right, something. People's opinion of you will go up. People will respect you more. They themselves now will feel free to be themselves. So ultimately, the fear of what will others think is basically stopping you from being yourself, expressing yourself honestly to yourself and to others at all times, just being yourself, right? Think on this. Let me know what you think in the comments. John, thank you for a wonderful question. I enjoyed making this video. This is a very important part of modern living. The fear of what will they think of me, the fear of ridicule, self-consciousness. These things we are supposed to outgrow by the time we have stopped being teenagers. These are all teenagers do this. I used to experience all this when I was a teenager. And I'm so thankful that I was trained, well, very diligently. I put that training in my life and wouldn't take anything less than total freedom from this fear. Even now, I have to sometimes, not all the time, most of the time I couldn't care less, but sometimes it threatens to creep in, and I have to clock it. I have to go, haha, there it is again, right? And I suspect these kind of fears, because they are so embedded in us. It's very, very rare, few people who can really just, they were born being themselves and never got affected. They're immune to this fear. Very few people are like that. Most of us have to go on a whole journey with it and get into the habit of relinquishing this useless load on our spirit, this paralyzing force on our spirit. Let me know what you think in the comments about this. If you have any tips and tricks about dealing with this fear that we could all benefit from, put them in the comments. It'd be lovely to hear. And if you have any further questions, absolutely let me know. Walk in freedom, stay connected. Talk to you soon. Bye for now.